Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son get together and talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things we enjoy. We're here fully to talk about fantasy today as Zach gives his spoiler-lite book blast reaction to the final book of R.F. Kuang's Poppy War trilogy, The Burning God. So, this is a safe space if you haven't read it yet. Zach may inspire you to want to read these that much more, or he may have you running the other direction. We'll see what he has to say, but if you enjoy this content here, be sure to like it down below, subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and check the show notes for all the ways that you can interact with us, connect with us, or support us. That's the Patreon one. And there's a comment box where you can just tell us your thoughts. We love to read those, and we always respond. So, Zach, it's an interesting title, The Burning God. What do you want to tell us about this book?
Let's start with it's the end of a trilogy.
Where a god burns.
We'll get there. I'm trying not to spoil things, okay?
Fair.
There are trilogies that fail to stick the landing, and then there are trilogies that have very satisfying final books. This is a very satisfying final book for the trilogy. Nice. And yet, a lot of the satisfaction I found was in a lack of satisfaction.
Oh, interesting.
That a lot of things get ended in ways I don't necessarily want, or I'm not excited about, or the ending is that it's not over, but it is. And so this does a really good job of showing, hey, the grand story of like what's going to go on in the world and where things are going to go and all that, it's not done. But the arc that we've been showing, the narrative we've been telling, this is the end of that. With a very clear, like, this is the direction things are going to go, but this is a good end to the story that we built starting in the first book. We come back to a starting point in a way, we close things back down, and we do have a sense of finality to certain things. And let's talk a little bit. You said The Burning God is an interesting thing. I haven't been too spoilery. This is not just historical fiction. It does fit very in Eastern culture, historical fiction. There's a lot of realism to a lot of the elements. It's still a fantasy book. Gods and powers and things may have some influence and be real in some ways. So there's a whole pantheon of things that interact.
That's a very God-type name.
Sometimes, somehow. And you know, maybe one of them burns, or likes to burn, or doesn't like to burn. But if you read the first book, you know what the last book is talking about. So, like, it's not a surprise.
Okay.
We see so much journey and growth in our primary main character from book 1, 2, 3, the whole arc. And some of that is time. And a lot of it's just all the shit they go through. And they don't necessarily come out a better person on the other side. But they do come out something different. And it does motivate and change stakes, the world. And it does have a sense of epicness to its scale. Even in just 3 books, things will never be the same.
One of the ways of describing the kind of writing an author might put into a story is creating a hero's journey. Does this trilogy represent, we've got the one hero and we're watching their journey throughout the trilogy?
I think the first book could be qualified as a hero's journey. I don't think the trilogy can, because I don't think you can call them a hero throughout the trilogy.
I
think you can call them a protagonist, and some people will sometimes see them as a hero and sometimes they won't. But I think it's too gray to be a hero's journey.
The gray man's wandering. The gray woman's wandering. I don't know who the protagonist is. It's a female protagonist, right?
The main protagonist that I'm referring to is a woman, yes. There are a couple of main cast of characters that we see interweaving in different plot lines and storylines. And there's some really nice symmetry and symbolic nature between different characters and things. But in the end, there is one main character, and she's a despicable hero. We'll go with her being a despicable protagonist. She would belong on our list that we had in that tri-reader tournament once.
I wonder if she was nominated. She might have been one of the ones that was in that list. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, any last words for this book or the trilogy as a whole that you want to leave people with as they consider, do they want to read this?
Ultimately, I really enjoyed the series. I enjoyed the series enough. I went out and bought another book by the author.
Nice.
Knowing this is probably a good book, but I bought it because of the author.
That's always a good sign. Yeah. Because of that awesome prose that wasn't hard to read.
They have a educated but readable way of writing and an interesting perspective that I don't get to see a lot in the things that I read.
Okay. Well, there you go. Zach's Book Blast spoiler-lite reactions to The Burning God and the Poppy War trilogy as a whole. Again, don't forget to let us know what you thought. Is Zach on track? If you've read these before, do you agree with him, or has he lost his mind?
Is Zach on track? Free. Or is Zach on crack?
And if he did a horrible job and you totally hate it, maybe you won't see him for a few episodes again, because I'll have him back chained up in the basement. Somebody accused me of that, you know.
I'm sorry, when did you add a basement?
It's what a great place for me to hide you. The basement no one knows exists. All right. Thanks for being with us, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.